Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History. Signed, sealed, remembered, bumping heads over Circle G. Hi, Keith. Hi, Luann. Hi, Gunn. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate having you here. And in the last episodes, well, in yesterday's episode, we saw Elvis report for duty at Clambake. And he ran into an embarrassing situation where he was too large around the waistline to fit into his pants, that the wardrobe already had set for his movie Clambake. So there's had to be a slight delay. And that same day, he went and finished up the songs that he had to do for Clambake. And one of those songs was Who Needs Money? And a couple of the lyrics from that song, all the greatest things in life are free. Who needs money? Not me. So those are words that Elvis was singing after this embarrassing situation, while his heart was still back on the Circle G. All the greatest things in life are free. Who needs money? Not me. Well, Elvis needs the money because he's got to pay for that Circle G, because that's the only place that he can find any peace or solace. But right now he doesn't have that because he's in California. But we're going to play a song right now that goes all the way back to the moment that he found the Circle G. And it's about when he saw the cross and he knew that that was the right thing to do, was to purchase this property. And the title of this song is Cross on the Circle.
He saw the cross at dawn and said, "It's a good omen, and a dream again." At the break of dawn, through the window pane, he saw a cross in morning rain, white as grace, tall as prayer, calling him to build and share. Not a kingdom, not a throne, but a place of love alone, where laughter rides on horse's breath and peace outshines the fear of death. Come home to the circle and the sign, where the lake reflects the holy line. No one needs money, no one needs fame, just a handshake and a name. Come home where the cross stands tall. Come and share the love of all. Mobile homes and barbecue nights, trucks and trowels and porch light rides. He handpicked hard to share the dream, a mythic village by the stream. This is more than land, it's grace, refuge carved in sacred space, a gift of love to friends and kin, protected from the world's loud din. Come home to the circle and the sign, where the lake reflects the holy light. a handshake and a name. Come home, where the cross stands tall. Come and share the love of all. Oh, come and share the love of all.
Thank you for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. And today we're going to hear the echo of what we heard Sonny West say yesterday. When Sonny said that Elvis had put on about 25 pounds since his last film, while he got plenty of exercise on the ranch, doing chores and riding horses. He ate as he pleased, mostly his favorite foods: hot dogs, cheeseburgers, bacon sandwiches, pork chops, chicken fried steak, cured smoked ham, deep fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches, cakes, pies, ice cream, and brownies. And so Sonny indicates that Elvis had been indulging far too much, and that's what had caused this issue with his wardrobe. And then after that wardrobe malfunction, and Elvis had to talk to the director, the producer, some of the executives from the studio, had to be a very embarrassing situation. And then he went and he recorded these two songs. We've heard lyrics from one, but the other song was called Confidence. And that's a great title for a song. But I listened to that song today as I prepared for this broadcast, and it is perhaps the worst Elvis Presley song I have ever heard. It is the closest I've ever heard Elvis come to phoning in a performance. And maybe it's just me, maybe I just didn't like it. But I did add this song as well as Who Needs Money, so both Confidence and Who Needs Money, to the playlist for the Circle G songs so that you guys can experience them as well. That playlist, the link is below. Just scroll up from the video, and in the description, there's links for different playlists. One is the Circle G music playlist. And you can hear Confidence, but wow, I don't remember ever hearing the song before, and if I did, I must have just forgotten all about it, and I just was not impressed with that song at all. And now that I understand the kind of mood he must have been in, and I'm guessing it must have been the first recorded song that night, because the other song, Who Needs Money, it's actually much better. But Confidence, it really feels rough to me. Like he was really having a hard time even shaping the words to come out of his lips, because he just did not, I don't think he liked that song. And Keith says that in the movie, when he sings it, he's looking pretty heavy too. So I think that Confidence, it might be a song that reflects Elvis at perhaps his lowest emotional point that we see professionally, where he allows us to see into his heart that this is not what he's really wanting to do at this moment. At least that's what I got out of the song. So if you guys want to listen to it, and if you don't remember it, be sure to go down to check out that playlist, and then come back after the video and put it in the comments. What do you think of the song Confidence and how he performed in it? Larry Geller says, no wonder Elvis was miserable. Every call to pre-production was a fresh slap in the face. I think Larry's saying that every time he had to walk into, before the filming, there were probably comments about his weight, comments about having to adjust the wardrobe, because I'm sure he had to go through a couple of fittings, and he probably said a few times that he was working to lose the weight, and but I would imagine that a portion of this conversation would have happened every day, and was not something that Elvis appreciated or looked forward to. And Luann saying that that when she was young, she loved the song Confidence. And was that because he was singing with a child in the song? Because to me, that was the one bright piece of the song, was that there were children's voices in it that were responding to him. And Sonny West says that director Arthur Nadell was upset to find his star in less than stellar shape, and he had the wardrobe department work overtime to fit Elvis with clothes that concealed his new spare tire. So as we've talked about, Elvis has got some amazing wardrobe people, and they're putting their skills to work right now to make Elvis look good. And let me pull up some visuals for us. So Elvis is working on this movie Clam Bake, and I've brought up a poster for Clam Bake, and this is, I believe, what they would call a 6-sheet. So I don't think this particular image is a 6-sheet, but I think it's the image that would have been on a 6-sheet, which is like 6 huge pieces of poster put together to make one giant poster. And almost always it's horizontal, because you're going to end up putting it on the side of a building. And this is a horizontal poster. That's really the only reason I'm saying that. Otherwise, they almost always do movie posters as a vertical poster. But when you see one that's sideways, it's going to be huge in most cases. And Gunn is saying that if it's the Confidence that she remembers, it was one of the film songs, and there were so many, and it was with a child, yes, it was really nice to see him sing with children. So I just listened to the song. I didn't actually watch the video portion of it. This was more like I was just listening to the record, as if I'd gone out and bought the soundtrack. So I can hear the children, but I can't see them. And so I'm really focusing on Elvis's voice. And my guess is, like you're saying, that because it's one of the movie songs, it's blurred into your memory with other movie songs. I think that's maybe what you're saying. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But for me, that's what happens with a lot of the movie songs. They blur together in my memory. Keith is saying that World's Fair, happened at the World's Fair, was a good movie too. Right, because it had children in it, and it had Elvis interacting with the children, and I think that was a big draw. Elvis was family entertainment. You could take your kids to an Elvis movie, and you didn't have to be afraid that there'd be something that you'd be ashamed that they saw in it, or that you'd have to get up and leave because it was in it. This was good family entertainment. And Luann's saying that if you're really young around that time and you're a kid, of course, you're going to like Elvis singing that. And as you're a kid, you come to a different point of view from a kid. And Gunn saying she didn't think it's a bad song, but she didn't like the Old MacDonald Had a Farm song, though. And Keith's saying we got to watch the video. And I've got to rewatch the movie too. I haven't watched the movie in a long time, and I've purposely not been watching it, so get a little bit of a fan perspective of the time as you're waiting for this movie to come out. And Right now he's just working on it, and that's all we'd hear is that he's working, and we'd see some of these pieces come out, like this poster. But what I've noticed about this poster is that it's got a couple of maybe 3 interesting pieces on here, other than the speedboat in the middle, which is really cool. There's a speedboat, and Elvis is driving. He's got a helmet on, and there's 2 unhelmeted women in bikinis sitting behind him. And of course, they're beautiful, and that's a very striking piece of the poster, and right in the center. So obviously, it's supposed to draw your eye. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you. And Gunn saying that I'll probably like the movie. Oh, I'm sure I will. I know I've seen it before, and I like all these Elvis movies. I find them to be fun romps. But now I'm going to be looking at it with an eye towards, how did Elvis feel on this day? Can I see any of the angst that we've read about? Or once he got into the swing of it, did he get into having the fun because he was with the people that he liked, like Shelley Favars, who you can see her name right here on the poster. But let's look at another piece of this poster. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's Elvis, and he's got 3 women in bikinis that are standing next to him, and one's actually sitting and clutching his leg. He's dressed in an all-black outfit, which I'm assuming is like black jeans and maybe a silk shirt, but it looks like it could be an all-black leather outfit. And he's playing a guitar and obviously singing. He's got black leather boots on. So this is like a precursor or a foreshadowing of the 68 special with the black leather outfit. Like, that hasn't happened yet. And yet some artist has put Elvis into this black outfit, and he looks fantastic. And so if you saw this little piece of this poster, which I'm sure Steve Bender, who directed the 68 special, he must have seen this poster. Because this would have been a popular poster the year before, and of course Steve's in the industry, and he would have seen all kinds of this stuff. Now, I don't know that he would have remembered it specifically, but he ends up putting Elvis in an outfit that looks virtually identical to this. And Keith's saying that he watches the clips from his movies during the Circle G times and to see if he looks unhappy or anything shows up on his face. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you. Now, the other piece that I find, well, if we look directly below Elvis in the black outfit, there's a picture of Elvis driving a motorcycle, and he's got a lady on the back of it, and it looks like he's wearing a leather jacket. Now, they've recolored this so that it won't all be black, and it looks like maybe the jacket is gray, but I think it's supposed to be like a black leather outfit that's being highlighted in some kind of moonlight, or because the light from the bike is obviously on the front. And to me, this looks just like the Fonz from Happy Days, because I think the Fonz's motorcycle that's a very similar motorcycle to this. But then if we look over on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see Elvis is water skiing with 2 women. And of course, these are artist representations. But it's Elvis with 2 women water skiing. He's wearing blue swim trunks, and they're wearing bikinis, but he's also wearing, I guess it's like a black silk shirt. I guess I'm going to have to watch the movie to know for sure, but it looks like a black leather jacket. And one of the most famous Happy Days episodes with the Fonz is when he jumps the shark. And it's known to be one of the worst episodes of television of all time. And if your show ever jumps the shark, I mean, they use that term, it means that you hit this low point that Happy Days hit when Fonz water skied wearing his black leather jacket. And yet here is that scene in a small artist representation on this poster years before that episode or the character of the Fonz was even thought of. And obviously the Fonz is a caricature or a shout out to Elvis. It's obviously a representation of Elvis on a sitcom. Even though the Fonz never sings, right? But that he's supposed to be an Elvis type of character. And there he is, right here in 1967 on the Clam Bake poster. And Jerry Schilling tells us that this extra eating that Elvis was doing, Jerry says he ate out of depression. The movies were boring to him. And when he didn't have a challenge, he always got depressed. And this is part of Clam Bake, the untold story. What's going on behind the scenes. And it's this part of it's this battle with his weight that Elvis is having, which I believe is more a battle about a desire to be on the Circle G and not to be commercialized into these movies at this point in time. That he's got true creativity that's flowing, and it needs to flow, and it can't flow here within this movie environment. And Jen saying that she loved Happy Days, but the end was the jumping the shark episode. So Jen, are you surprised to have seen it there on the poster with Elvis? Like I couldn't help but think about it when I saw that picture. Here we see Red West, and this is the small bit part that he plays in Clam Bake, and he's going to be selling some ice cream on the beach. And just to reorient ourselves on what Clam Bake means to Elvis, it's his 25th film. So he's done a lot of movies at this point. The first 4 were super exciting. When he came back from the army, I would say the first 4, again, very exciting. And they've been sliding downhill as an experience for Elvis ever since. Not necessarily in the quality that the audience experiences, or the experience that the audience has. They love these movies and they love Elvis, but for Elvis himself, the experience has been going downhill. And he was involved in a project, and it opened his eyes to the power that he has and what he can do. And when he came out of that project, he then was back in Memphis. And that's when he gets involved with the horses. And then the horses lead to the next phase, which is Circle G. And then he's got the conflict. Once he's at Circle G and he begins to create, and he runs into a bunch of conflicts. We've already talked about the conflicts that he ran into, trying to get his mansion created, trying to create land and houses for his buddies. None of that worked out. He had to pivot over to these trailers, which hasn't quite happened yet. Just before he came out to do Clam Bake, I believe is when he put the orders in for the trailers. So they're going to be there hopefully when he gets back. That's the thought process. But he's already gotten all these trucks, and he's bought a whole lot of horses, and he's shaping this thing into what he wants it to be. And he's got to stop right in the middle of this so that he can go back and do this clam bake movie. And it's wearing at him, and that's the conflict. And here we see Marty Lacker, who's out here with Elvis making this movie, and he's going to be coming up with a lot of things to say. And we've gone through the timeline that Elvis went to do clam bake on March 5th, which was a Sunday, and we heard from Gary Pepper yesterday tell us about the departure and all the people that went with him. Then on Monday, he reported to the studio, had the wardrobe issue, and then that evening he went and recorded Confidence and Who Needs Money. Now he's moving through the pre-production. That's the 7th and the 8th, Tuesday and Wednesday. And Joe Esposito says, in 1967, Elvis almost refused to make clam bake. He complained incessantly about the script from the moment he read it, telling the studio that he wasn't going to do any more of those films. United Artists' top executives rushed over to Elvis's house with the Colonel. This darn script, Elvis told the Paramount executives, the last time I was a race car driver. The time before that, I was a speedboat driver. It's all the same stuff. He told them he wanted to do serious movies. And Gunn is saying that it's so sad that the movies made us happy, but Elvis depressed. And so again, I don't think Elvis was depressed as he was making the movies, with the exception perhaps of this one. But I think even after he really got started on it, it was. And I think during this week he is. But at other points in the production, I don't think he is. But I think overall, he's not satisfied with where his career is. That he's seen a possibility for more, and he's now chasing that. But he doesn't know exactly how to do it. And that's what the ranch is providing, is the opportunity to reset and remember who he is, and to reach back down into himself, and then to pull that out like he always has in the past and turn it into something amazing. Because that's what he does. And Jen says that she tried to watch an Elvis movie every Friday night, and it makes her happy, even though he didn't like the later movies. And Gunn says that the movies made his fans happy, so she hopes it made him a little happy about that. And that definitely did make him happy. He loved to please the fans, and we've seen in the article that he said he's doing these movies because that's what makes the fans happy. That he wants to do these other dramatic movies, but he knows that makes the fans unhappy. So he's very concerned about the happiness of the fans. And obviously because that has an effect on his emotional state. And Gunn says that there's a few that she doesn't watch many times, but most of them are good and some are super. And Luann's saying that as a kid, she was unaware Elvis didn't go out much on his movies. But that she loves his movies. And that's why he made them, so that the fans could love them. And through them, they could love him. But let's look back at what Joe said again, so we can understand it completely. He says Elvis almost refused to make clam bake. So we've seen that Elvis has... We haven't seen that he said that he was not going to make clam bake, but we've seen his actions telling us that he doesn't want to do clam bake. He did not get into shape for clam bake, which indicates he may have thought he wasn't going. It wasn't actually going to happen because perhaps he'd been refusing, like Joe's telling us right here. And that would be the reason. And Joe says that he complained incessantly about the script from the moment he read it. And then that the executives from United Artists rushed over to the house with the Colonel. So I assume that means that Elvis did not see this script until he was actually in California. Because that's the house that the United Artists executives and Colonel would have been able to rush to. They obviously can't rush to Graceland. So they rushed over to his California house. And they're talking to him there. And Joe's telling us, now, how does Joe know what was said? It's got to be from a conversation he had with Elvis, or Joe's simply manufacturing the entire thing from his head about what he thinks was said. We don't know. He doesn't really tell us, but I am 99.5% certain, can't be absolutely certain, I wasn't there, but I don't think Joe was in on this meeting with the executives and the Colonel. So, and it sounds more like something Elvis would have told Joe. I went in there and I said this darn script, and this is the last time I was a race car driver, time before I was a speed boat driver, it's all the same stuff. And he was explaining to Joe, which Joe summarizes, that he wanted to do serious movies. And Billy Smith says, when we went back to California to finish clam bake, and when Billy says that, when we went back to California to finish clam bake. So I've put it here because what Elvis does in this section, and what Billy's about to say, sounds more like it would have happened at this point in time, the first time they're out here to do clam bake, and not when they return after Elvis, after what happens on March 9th that you can see on the screen. He's going to suffer a fall, then he's going to have a concussion, and he's going to have a golf ball size swelling on his head, and he's going to end up going back to recuperate at Circle G. And then they're going to come back. So it sounds like Billy is placing this after Elvis recuperates. Of course, I wasn't there, so I don't know. What I do know is that we're going to see throughout these quotes that I'm going to give to you that there is a lot of references to time. And those references are very, very often wrong. Like 90% of the time, they're completely inaccurate. Because that's what human beings do with facts. They don't remember them correctly. Places, time, dates, even people that were at the event, they remember emotional journeys. They remember their emotional truth from the moment. They remember how they feel about what happened when they look back at it. They don't remember facts very well, and any detective would tell you this. In this case, Billy says, when we went back to California to finish clam bake. And then he says, Elvis finally started showing his anger about everything. Since the early 1960s, Elvis had this tendency to destroy an entire room when he got upset. But he usually disguised why he was mad. So that's a fairly personal and kind of negative thing to say about Elvis, but Billy's basically telling us that Elvis had an issue controlling his temper, and one of the things he did when he lost his temper was he would destroy an entire room. Now, I don't know what destroy means, because if we were talking about a more recent rock band or even a rock band from the 1980s, I mean, destroy would mean there's literally a drywall has been pulled off of the walls. I don't believe Elvis ever destroyed a room to that extent. Now, did he smash up some of the articles that are in the room? I think that's more like what Billy is saying. And then when Billy says he'd usually disguise why he was mad, I believe Billy's telling us Elvis wouldn't tell anyone why he was mad. Kind of expected everyone to know why he was mad, and just was taking out his anger on a room. Now, we know that in the 1970s, he would sometimes shoot television, which seems connected to this behavior. But I don't know of any reports where he actually destroyed an entire room. I've never actually heard a story other than Billy saying this right here. Now, Larry Geller says, now, with marriage on his mind, Priscilla and the ranch beckoning him home, and a generally more serious outlook, Elvis was bothered by the movies in a different way. Making them was more than a drag, more than an insult to his talent. It was a humiliation. So Billy's told us that Elvis is angry, and he's displaying his anger. And Larry's telling us that Elvis feels humiliated. And we know that when Elvis walked into the wardrobe fitting, he did not fit. And we also have an indication that Elvis may have thought he wasn't going to do this movie at all. And that's why he never got into shape for it. But because he didn't get into shape, now he's in a position where he's feeling humiliated. But not just about his appearance, it's also about the fact that these scripts and songs are bad and getting worse. And he doesn't see any way to fix this through the studios. And so he's gone to an extreme at this point. But it's not going to do anything about this movie. It's too late for this movie. This movie's already all set. It has to move forward. And Billy Smith tells us that this day on Roca Place, and that's where Elvis is living. That's the house that Elvis lives in California. And Billy's going to describe this event. And the reason I believe this event occurs now is that it fits with the anger he would have been feeling at this point in time about having to be here to do clam bake. And I think that anger is gone by the time he gets back. I think that's part of what happens at Circle G's. He's able to let go of it and move forward through clam bake and then into his wedding, because that occurs immediately afterwards. But this story is going to be kind of a rough one. So Billy says that they're at Roca Place and that Elvis was going to play this record. And there were several of us in the room. Red, which is Red West, and Richard, it's Richard Davis, and Jerry, it's Jerry Schilling, and Sandy, and Sandy is Jerry's girlfriend right now. They're about to get married. And me and my wife, so Billy Smith and Joe Smith are there, and Priscilla. Well, the record kept skipping, and Elvis tried to play it over and over. Finally, he said, if this son of a gun jumps one more time, well, it did. And Elvis took a cane and beat the record. And then Elvis just broke stacks and stacks of records. And then he started in on the record player and the speakers and everything. He threw it across the room. And he started cussing up a storm at Joe Esposito's brother, Frank, who gave him the thing. Elvis was swinging that cane every which way, even broke the little windows out of the side of the door and started clearing the shelves. And his hair fell in his face, and he looked like some kind of lunatic. Me and Red just fell out. We were dying laughing on the floor. But Joe was afraid Elvis would get mad at us because we were laughing at him. And it did set him off to doing other things. He beat the piano and destroyed these feathers that Priscilla had. Just tore them up. Then he said real angry like, "What in the heck are you all laughing at?" And we said, "We're laughing at you. You look like some dang wild man who just swung out of the tree limbs." Elvis got to thinking about it, and he got tickled. We started laughing. So that's kind of another negative story about Elvis, but it's about his ability to control his temper. And in this story, Elvis is obviously on edge, and he loses control of his temper. And so I'm not saying that this story isn't true. Very possibly it is true. I don't know that Billy had a reason to sensationalize or not tell the truth in this particular story, because he could have made it a whole lot worse, right? But it's basically Elvis just gets mad and trashes a bunch of records on a record player and a few other things. And I think that they, for a while there, I don't know if they're still doing it, but people were opening businesses where you could go in and destroy items to work out your anger. Like they would have a lot of different kind of props and items in there that you would be able to beat with a baseball bat or something. And it was real popular for a few years. I don't know if it still is, but this is a temptation I think that everybody has. And Elvis had the kind of money that he could engage in it, but he's engaged in it in front of a lot of people. So obviously, he's having some emotional difficulty. And to me, that fits in with this period very well. Possibly these 2 days, March 7th and March 8th. He had a really bad day Monday. And I'm sure Tuesday and Wednesday weren't a whole lot better. And Sonny West says that Elvis's way of combating his weight problem was popping diet pills given to him by Dr. Max Shapiro, the notorious Beverly Hills dentist known around town as Dr. Feelgood, whose clients read like a who's who of Hollywood stars. Now, Sonny must just barely know who Dr. Max Shapiro is, because Dr. Max, at one point in time, he was connected to the ruling members of the world. Max was a personal doctor to John F. Kennedy while John F. Kennedy was in the White House. Max had this special formula that he had developed using amphetamines, and he would put some other vitamins in it and some other substances that he knew would they would make a person feel good. Now, Max believed that if a person felt good they were healthy. Max had actually come here from Germany and had, before World War II, had learned in the German pharmaceutical industry. He was a doctor that had been able to use the German pharmaceutical industry as it was pumping out a lot of new medications, and there was very little regulation over any of these or what you could do with them. And Max was right in there on experimentation. And when he ended up over the United States, he began treating a lot of different people, and he treated them all basically exactly the same. It didn't really matter what your complaint was. He had a special shot for you. And that shot was the same shot he's given everybody. It's this amphetamine with this extra stuff in it. And it makes John F. Kennedy feel so good that he begins to get to a point where he can't go into major meetings without it. And during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Max is treating JFK. So it's a very scary situation. But now, Max, because these things were unregulated at the time, right? And here we are a few years later, Max is still doing great business. JFK is gone, but he still has a massive amount of people that come to him for treatment. And now he's brought in Elvis Presley. And so whatever he's giving to Elvis to help him diet, although it may help him lose weight, that is not the intention of these pills. It's the intention on Max's part. But these are some kind of strong amphetamines that Elvis would have been taking. And they're prescribed by a doctor. And this doctor is known for prescribing amphetamines. He thinks they make people better. And Jen is saying that she just Googled Dr. Feelgood from the song from Motley Crue, and it referenced Dr. Nick and JFK. But it's not Dr. Nick, it's Dr. Max. And see, that's what happens is Dr. Nick gets conflated with people like Dr. Max or Elvis's doctor from Las Vegas. Dr. Nick wasn't quite the same kind of guy. And Dr. Nick, I don't think he wasn't doing anything like Dr. Max was. Max has got a whole book about him that you can find. It's called Dr. Feelgood. It's quite a read. But Elvis barely even shows up in it. Like, he's just like a name that shows up on one page. Max had his fingers into everybody. And Joe Esposito says Elvis had been so angry for 2 days after getting the script that he had slipped, banging his head against the bathtub so he wouldn't have to show up on set. So again, Joe's telling us that Elvis has just gotten the script when he got to California, because that would be the 2 days before. And so he's gotten the script. It's got the costume issues. He's gone and he's recorded those last two songs. He's angry. I believe what Billy's talking about happened during this period, so it's showing that he's very angry. And Joe's reporting that he's very angry. And then Joe's saying that he slipped on purpose. It hit his head so he wouldn't have to show up on set. Now, I think that's going a little far. I don't think Elvis fell on purpose, because he does have quite an injury. And I don't think he would have hurt himself like that on purpose. And I don't think he would have chosen his head. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have. So I think that's Joe reading into the situation, kind of what he wants to see in the situation. And we see a lot of this in these books that were written by these guys. And this is what we're told is the truth, right? And then other people will reference this to us as the truth. Well, it's not the truth. The truth is that Elvis was angry. That I would definitely say that's the truth. He's angry for 2 days. I would again say that's the truth. And that it was because of this script. A lot of truth there. I don't think it's the only reason, but certainly is a trigger. And that Elvis slipped. I would say that's the truth. You know, the number one cause of accidents in your house is slipping in the bathroom. So you need to remember that as we move through this particular scenario, number one cause of accidents and place to hurt yourself in your house is your bathroom. So there does not have to be a villain in this story for Elvis to have this injury. We need to remember that as we move through. And that accidents aren't something that happen because you don't want to show up on set. That's Joe's interpretation, but it's been passed down as fact. Now, what Lamar Fike says is when Elvis had pills in him, Elvis would get dizzy. And he got up in the middle of the night to use the toilet, and he slipped or fell over the TV cord and hit his head on the bathtub. And boy, all hell broke loose. All right, so let's cut apart this statement for a minute. And what I love about Lamar is he'll just say whatever's on his mind. And I'm going to start in the middle of this one. It says Elvis got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. And he says use the toilet. This is true. I'm absolutely certain this is true. A lot of people get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. And then he says Elvis slipped or he fell. And then he says if he fell, it's over the TV cord. So Lamar's indicating to us that there are cords that are stretched out or on the ground in the bathroom that could trip a person. He's also indicating that Elvis might have slipped. And then he hit his head on the bathtub, which is true. And then all hell broke loose. Well, that's true too. But he starts with this thing about when Elvis had pills in him, he would get dizzy. Well, do you have to be dizzy to slip? Or to fall over a cord that's across your path in a darkened bathroom or an area that you're unfamiliar with? So Lamar has just stuck this thing in about the bill. People want this to be because Elvis was taking drugs. So we've heard that he's got Dr. Max's drugs in him, and Lamar is now connecting that to Elvis being dizzy and falling. Now, that's possible that that's true, but it's not necessarily connected because he's given two other very plausible reasons that anyone, whether they take any drugs or not, might fall. And I've kind of lost track of the chat here. Let me go back through. Gunn is asking if Kennedy had a lot of pain in his back. Yeah, absolutely. Kennedy had massive back issues, and that's what Dr. Max was treating. And when he got a shot from Dr. Max, Kennedy did not feel any pain. And Luann's saying that's where the problem started. Sounds like those doctors. And Carolyn's saying they literally killed him. Well, they weren't doing him any good or trying to do any good. Although, again, Dr. Max really thought this was good for people. He truly believed that pumping someone full of amphetamine was great for him. And he proved this because he did it himself. So most of the time when he would shoot up JFK, yeah, he was flying on the amphetamine on his own. And he was very addicted to it. And Gunn saying that you can, of course, fall without taking drugs. it's kind of like when he passes away, right, Gunn? That we need to immediately jump to this conclusion that the drugs did it. Even though there are other medical evidence right in our face that's telling us it's not the drugs. At least not, it's not the drugs that triggered the last event. They certainly helped put him into a bad physical condition. But it's also possible they made life livable, because without them, he would have been in a massive amount of pain. And Larry Geller says, it was either the first day... Let me start over. Larry Geller says, it was the first day of either shooting or pre-production for Clambake. Because it was our first day working on a new studio, I drove to Elvis's house. I sat down in the living room with a couple of the guys waiting for Elvis to come out. 10, 15, 20 minutes passed. Still no Elvis, which was unusual, since generally by the time anyone arrived, Elvis was at least up and having breakfast. So Larry is indicating that he knew something was not quite right, because Elvis wasn't up and ready to go on this first day of what was filming. Pre-production was 3 days in. So Larry doesn't remember as he's telling the story. So this was the first day of shooting. But he does get that part right. It is the first day of shooting. And Sonny West says the night before Clambake was to commence shooting, in the second week of March, Elvis tripped over a television cord in the bathroom of the Roca Place house, fell, and hit the back of his head. So Sonny's told us that Elvis was taking these pills and they would make him dizzy. And then he tells us that Elvis has fallen, although he doesn't do a direct connect back to the pills. And he even says that he tripped over a television cord. So to me, if you tripped over a cord, that has nothing to do with drugs. I mean, anybody would fall over a cord that's in their way. But we're going to find out a lot more about this. But it's not going to be today, because we've got to the end of our hour. So we're going to have to leave it here. And when I return in the next episode, we'll talk about what everybody else has to say about this day, because we're about to get a lot of people involved, and then the Colonel's going to show up. And once the Colonel shows up, that's what Lamar is talking about. All hell breaks loose. And that's coming up in the next episode. Signed, sealed, and remembered. But for now, I'm going to send you out with another song. And this is the song that recollects Donna Presley's memories on the Circle G. It's called He Gave Us Everything. And until I see you all again, you all keep on taking care of business.
Oh, 17, snow on the ground, Circle G, love all around. He bought that ranch, opened the gate, said come on in, let's celebrate. Tractor pulling through the snow, laughter rising, spirits glow. Both behind, wives and men, family fun again and again. He wasn't just a star in lights, he was the warmth in winter nights. Kindness wrapped in velvet flame, a heart that never played the fame. He gave us joy, he gave us grace, a piano song in a quiet place. From a jack to a king, in the moonlight ring, he gave us love, he gave us wings. Circle G, everything. Riding horses, lakes so still, bridge and cross on the quiet hill. Barbecue smoke, stories told, moments more precious than gold. He'd ask me who I'm dating now, what I dream, what I'll allow. He cared like kin, not just a name. He lived for love, not for acclaim. He wasn't just a voice on stage, he was the soul behind the page. A man who'd sing to heal your day and laugh the midnight blues away. He gave us joy, he gave us grace, a piano song in a quiet place. From a jack to a king, in the moonlight rain. He gave us love, he gave us grace. Circle G, where the angels sing. He gave us everything. A shadow in the night, famous face, but heart so bright. Couldn't walk the street like you and me, so we built a world where we were free. He gave us joy, he gave us grace, a piano song in a quiet place. From a jack to a king, in the moonlight breeze. He gave us love, he gave us way. Gave us everything. Yes, he gave us everything.